8, 7. Thunderbirds are go. Now, Brains, it's priority 1 to get Thunderbirds 7 and 8 mission ready.
I understand completely, Mr. Tracy. I've been working tirelessly on it. I'm near exhaustion.
Now, Brains, where do we stand? What capabilities are we looking at?
Well, Mr. Tracy, Thunderbird 8 is nearly finished. She's an ocean-going catamaran equipped with a central thruster unit for maximum power and dual rudder steering for maximum maneuverability. Centrally located is our reconnaissance helicopter, capable of being launched to high altitude and relay back important data. At the bow, we have the deployment and launch mechanism for Thunderbird 7. This doubles as the recovery system for the Healy.
What's the status of Thunderbird 7?
Early testing shows her to be a nimble little craft.
Brains, where does that put us?
Well, Mr. Tracy, if I do say so myself, Thunderbird 7 and 8 make a great addition to our fleet. The launching of TB-7 goes smoothly, as does the launching of the reconnaissance helicopter.
Once again, Brains, you've outdone yourself. Good luck with the water tests, and remember, we need this ASAP.
FAB?
I hope you all like that spoof of Thunderbirds. Hello, this is New York City Bobby with the second installment of Having Fun with This Catamaran. So it occurs to me that a lot of people watching this video may not even have heard of the Thunderbirds. So when I was a kid growing up in the 60s, a number of really interesting TV shows came over from England, and these shows did not star people. They were not cartoons. They starred marionettes. To be specific, they were called super marionettes. The reason they were called super marionettes is their mouths moved in perfect sync to the soundtrack. And in real life, the puppets were about 2 feet tall. So to make these shows possible, amazing sets, miniature sets had to be created. And all these shows I just mentioned, they were all these kind of futuristic, action-packed shows. And they were filled with amazing spaceships and airships and ships that could go underwater, dig underground, you name it. It was all part of the mix when it came to watching these shows. The shows had great music, written by a man named Barry Gray. It had incredible pyrotechnics that was just amazing. If you ever watch one of these super marionette shows, you will be amazed that when the rockets ignite their thrusters, real flames come out of them. And they've also been very prone to blowing up sets to absolute smithereens with incredible pyrotechnics. And I just love these shows growing up. They were kind of weird and funky, and I just loved them.
All of these shows were the creation of a man named Jerry Anderson and his wife Sylvia. Thunderbirds, my personal favorite, was about a secret organization called International Rescue. It was created by Jeff Tracy, a retired astronaut, and his 5 sons, all named after American astronauts, pilot the 5 amazing crafts named Thunderbirds 1 through 5. The design of all these ships was the creation of Brains, the genius scientist who made all the Thunderbirds a reality. Wherever there was a disaster, the Thunderbirds came to save the day with whatever crazy machine was needed to make the rescue a success. If you ever saw the movie Team America World Police, it was a parody on Thunderbirds. If you have never watched any of these shows, you might want to really give it a try. They're all over YouTube. In a previous video, we launched an Estes rocket from the catamaran as it was floating in the Hudson River. That adventure did not go quite as planned, but I would still consider it a success. In this adventure, I attempted to launch the little boat TB-7, which is actually called the Timbler, from the catamaran using a lift mechanism. This mechanism is basically a 4-bar linkage controlled by a rotating lead screw in the back. The reversing of the lead screw motor is controlled with a servo that activates various switches that reverse the polarity of the voltage going to the motor. Limit switches on the top and bottom prevent the motor from overturning. This lift has worked surprisingly well. Another item I added to the deck of the catamaran was a motor that can launch the propeller ring. I'm not sure what to call it, but I found this in a 99-cent store and grabbed it. I replicated the little top of the hand launcher and placed it on a motor that can spin very fast. The little finger grooves on the top of the launcher are quite clever, as they will pull the propeller down onto it as long as it is spinning faster than the propeller itself. But as soon as you cut the motor off, it immediately releases the propeller. So how did it all go? Well, launching the Timbler is easy and works beautifully. The Timbler is such a cute and nimble little boat that can self-right itself. However, the radio keeps dropping out, making it just too frustrating to use. The launching of the propeller ring works flawlessly every time. The big issue is trying to recover the Timbler using the lift. It takes many tries to line up with the lift, and usually it ends up perpendicular to how it was designed. The good news is the lift works great at recovering the propeller ring. It's quite easy to drive up next to it and pick it out of the water. It also must be noted that I added a large 12-volt lead-acid battery to the back of the catamaran, which dramatically changed the center of gravity of the boat, causing it to pitch way up in the front and be very difficult to maneuver.
Here's the boat after coming back from the testing day, and you can see the algae on the surface of the little boating pond left a nice mark on the side of the pontoon, so you can see where the water line was and how much the boat got pitched down by the extra weight of that lead acid battery. The back pontoon was almost completely underwater, as you can see. Okay, here is the transmission that I built for that catamaran. It had a covering on it. It had a fiberglass covering on it that made it more aerodynamic. But underneath it, this is what it was. It's pretty simple. It's nothing but two shafts meeting in bevel gears. Right here, there are two bevel gears. There's bearings in these wooden pillow blocks, so to speak, and there's also two bearings in this vertical one. It's terminated up here in a 25 chain sprocket. I'm not sure how many teeth it has, but even though this was made out of wood, it was totally covered in fiberglass. And then this front pocket here, I don't know if you can see this whole region in the front was filled with lithium grease. And I thought it would be watertight. It obviously wasn't. I don't know if the camera's picking up how rusty it is, but it's just awful. And I've had a tremendous difficulty in waterproofing transmissions for boats that I've made over the years. So, well, my next thought was to just buy a thruster unit and let somebody else deal with the water leaking problem. So I bought this rather inexpensive thruster unit, and it consists of a brushless motor that has a propeller mounted to it. I also bought a bidirectional brushless speed controller, and I tried it out, and it proved to be an absolute piece of junk. Now, admittedly, this thruster unit's not very expensive, but I can tell you it produced so little thrust, and then in the middle of my test, something happened to it and it got significantly worse than it had been before, and it just proved to be completely inadequate. I don't know if anyone else has experienced it with these thruster units. We have a robotics team at Columbia University that makes an underwater robot, and they use thruster units that look something like this, but are quite a bit more expensive and work quite well. But those thruster units are like in the $200 range. So anyone potentially buying one of these units, I would highly steer away from it. It was really disappointing at how bad it was. Here we have the second design iteration of the transmission for this boat. I have up here a bag motor, which is used in FIRST Robotics, if anyone's familiar with that. I have a 4-to-1 gearbox here. It goes to a set of sprockets. These two sprockets have a 1-to-1 gear ratio. And basically, all I do is run that chain down this tube. This is an acrylic tube glued at 90 degrees to another piece of acrylic tube. There's some fiberglass here to reinforce this joint. I made my own stuffing box, which has proved to leak. And I am getting water in this chamber, which is unfortunate. So I have to figure out a way of finding out how to stop that leak. I do have some set screws here that I can loosen to let out the water, so that part's good. Here's how it sounds. It's pretty smooth. I'm fairly happy with, it's bi-directional. I'm fairly happy with the way this came out in a sense, except for the leak. But it does cause a lot of vibrations, and I think it's because I need to put a shroud over this to be more aerodynamic or water dynamic. So I think there's a lot of vibrations coming from vortices forming behind this. So that's the next thing to do, and hopefully that'll work. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the second installment of the adventures with this catamaran, and thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the third installment, which will be coming out somewhat in the not too distant future. Thank you so much.